Imagine two individuals, Sarah and Mike. Both of them reach the day they retire on the exact same date, January 1st, 2025. Both are seasoned financial professionals, well-versed in markets and planning. Both have saved exactly $1 million for their retirement. Both intend to withdraw $40,000 in their first year to cover basic living expenses. Both have invested their money in identical index funds, and over the course of the next 20 years, their portfolios achieve the same average annual return of 7%. At first glance, it seems reasonable to assume their retirement outcomes would be identical. You might think they would both live comfortably, perhaps even flourish. Yet here lies a chilling reality. 15 years into retirement, Mike has exhausted his funds. He's forced to sell assets, even his house, simply to meet living expenses. Meanwhile, Sarah has over $1.4 million remaining and continues to enjoy a comfortable, stable lifestyle. How can this disparity exist if their returns were mathematically identical? The explanation is simple, startling, and rarely addressed in conventional financial education. It is known as sequence of returns risk, a hidden danger that demonstrates why relying on average returns alone can be catastrophically misleading. I am Alex, and I spend an excessive amount of time dissecting the invisible traps the financial system sets for everyday earners. If you believe that merely reaching your savings target guarantees security, it's time to challenge that notion. Today, I'll show you why the timing of your retirement can matter far more than the total amount you retire with, and how you can strategically defend yourself against market volatility in your critical early retirement years. The major flaw in traditional retirement planning is the reliance on average returns. When using a calculator, most people simply input a 7% or 8% expected return, and the model assumes this percentage applies uniformly every year. It smooths out volatility, painting a predictable, safe-looking future. But this is a deadly assumption. In reality, the order in which returns occur is far more significant than the average return itself. Let's examine Mike's scenario. He retires at a particularly inopportune moment. The market performs poorly in his first 3 years. Year 1 shows a -5% loss, Year 2 a -10% loss, and Year 3 a 20% gain. Forced to cover living expenses, he must liquidate portions of his portfolio at depressed prices. He withdraws $40,000 from a rapidly shrinking pool, suffering negative compounding, which can act as negative financial poison. By selling investments at low values, he locks in permanent losses, preventing those assets from recovering fully in later market upswings. Now consider Sarah. She experiences the same overall returns as Mike, but in a different sequence. Her first 3 years consist of a 20% gain, followed by a -10% loss, and then a -5% loss. Even though her cumulative performance over those years matches Mike's, Sarah benefits from positive compounding early in retirement. Her portfolio grows faster before she needs significant withdrawals, providing a cushion against later downturns. Even when subsequent market declines occur, she withdraws the same $40,000 from a much larger, healthier pool. Mathematically, the total average return for both Sarah and Mike over 20 years is exactly the same. Yet Mike encounters early losses combined with mandatory withdrawals, sending him into a financial death spiral. Sarah, with her initial gains, can endure the same losses and continue thriving. This illustrates the psychological and mathematical hazard of sequence of returns risk. Retirement risk is not evenly spread across years. It is hyper-concentrated in the first 5 to 10 years. Many people approach risk backwards. During the accumulation phase, your working years, market volatility is your ally. A dip in stock prices means your dollars buy more shares, compounding your wealth over decades. But once you enter the distribution phase, where withdrawals are mandatory, volatility becomes your enemy. A market crash in the first decade of retirement is catastrophic because you were forced to sell investments at a loss, locking in those losses just to pay bills. I call this initial period the red zone, roughly the first 10 years of retirement, where timing can make the difference between financial survival and failure. One poorly timed sequence can undo decades of careful planning. While no one can predict the market with certainty, you can build safeguards around your red zone. The most effective method is the bucket strategy, which segments your money based on when it will be needed. This creates a financial barrier between daily spending and long-term investments. The first bucket is the cash moat, holding 3 to 5 years of living expenses in cash or high-yield savings accounts. If the market declines 30% on your first day of retirement, you draw from this cash, leaving your investments untouched. The second layer is the bond buffer, holding 5 to 7 years of expenses in intermediate-term bonds or fixed annuities. If the market has not recovered by the time your cash moat is depleted, you can liquidate bonds instead of selling equities at a loss. The remaining funds form the growth engine, a diversified stock portfolio designed with a long time horizon of 10+ years. This portion can endure multiple recessions and benefit fully from compounding. Each year, positive market gains refill the cash moat. In downturns, the first two buckets absorb shocks, giving the growth engine time to recover without forcing losses. Beyond buckets, traditional plans often assume fixed withdrawals, which is risky during the red zone. Instead, adopt a dynamic withdrawal approach. In strong market years, consider a small bonus withdrawal. In weak years, reduce withdrawals by 5 to 10% to protect principal. Mike could have survived his early losses if he had implemented such adjustments. Flexibility, not rigid formulas, can preserve decades of retirement security. Another powerful defense is a temporary income stream during the red zone. Even a modest consulting role, earning $20,000 annually for the first few years, can reduce the need for portfolio withdrawals, mitigating early negative compounding. This strategy complements the coast fire approach. Hit your coast number, then work a low-stress job for initial years of retirement to protect principal. The emotional toll of sequence risk is immense. Retirement is meant to celebrate freedom, yet early market misfortune can feel crushing. However, fear is not the solution. You do not need to save $5 million to survive. You need to acknowledge the red zone and implement strategic defenses. Sequence of returns risk is not fatal. It is a manageable, known variable. Avoid being lulled into a false sense of security by averages. Embrace buckets, implement dynamic withdrawals, and protect yourself from the consequences of poorly timed market events. If this video revealed a critical risk you hadn't known about, hit like and subscribe. Follow Alex for more strategies to navigate the financial system and secure your retirement.